Number 3, Jaws. Now, this is probably the most obvious film that you're going to get on the list. I mean, most people, particularly movie critics, like to put Jaws on their list for good reason, and mainly because it is kind of the very first big summer blockbuster that ever existed. Now, some people would argue that Star Wars is the first one, but really I consider Jaws to be the very first phenomenon that is the popcorn action genre that is obviously still going on today. But this movie is probably Spielberg's best movie, or at least it's my favorite. And it's probably one of my favorite summer blockbusters as well, even though it's quite different from what you get today. Um, the reason is because you're given a lot of time to sort of get to know these characters. Not just the characters, but everything in the film is given a lot of room to breathe. You really Spielberg allows the tension to really build and build and build until the final act of the film. And I just love that because you just don't get that anymore. It does what every classic Hitchcock film does. It allows you to really anticipate the bang, um, instead of just having a bunch of explosions and giant robots smacking you over the head every 30 seconds of the movie. And I love these characters in this movie. They're wonderful and they're very, very entertaining. The shark attacks are actually really great. I mean, even though the shark looks really fake, um, the attacks themselves really do stand up. I mean, they are genuinely scary. And the writing is just so mature. And I do think this is really one of the great movies, even though it is very kind of light and it's meant to be just a kind of entertaining summer movie. This is really a very stellar writing, as I just said, and everything about it is just of the highest quality. And if you have not seen this movie, that I don't know, it seems kind of weird to me that anyone hasn't seen this movie, but if you haven't, I really recommend that you do. I mean, this one is something that you'll really enjoy, and if you can, I highly recommend seeing it on the big screen if you can find a way to. Last summer, I got to see it, a screening of it at a theater that was kind of close to where I live, and it was just so much fun. Now, the quality was horrible. I mean, it was one of the crappiest prints I've ever seen. And also, I had to sit on like the second row, even though I got there early. The theater was really packed, so I was like looking up the entire time. But I mean, I had a blast, and everyone in the theater was screaming and laughing at all the right moments, especially at the end. And I felt like I was back in 1975, enjoying this kind of film and being scared all over again, like all these teenagers were back in that era. And it was just really great. And I enjoyed it probably more than any other movie I've ever seen on the big screen, to be honest with you. So yes, if you can see it on the big screen, I think that you definitely should highly recommend it. But if you can't, just watch it in your living room. I've been doing that for years and I love it, just as much. It's still a wonderful film and I plan to do it again this year. Number 4, The Magnificent Seven. Now, this is another one that's really a lot like Jaws in that it's a rousing sort of action picture. But this one is the first Western that I've selected on the list, and I really, really do love Westerns. And this one is just, I mean, it's not a great Western by any means, but it does everything that a good action Hollywood movie should do. I mean, it's star-studded, it's packed with all kinds of movie stars, and it's just a great shoot 'em up cowboy picture with a rousing, wonderful score by Elmer Bernstein. So I really, really enjoy watching this one. And it's basically the premise is not even, there's not much to it. There's really not much thinking for this movie at all, but it's basically the American remake of Seven Samurai. Or for those of my younger viewers who don't know what Seven Samurai is, God help me, it's the same story as A Bug's Life, basically. Um, but yes, so really, not much to the plot. But this movie does what every Hollywood summer movie does so, so shamelessly, and that is to pretty much get everything wrong, in terms of just what is politically correct. I mean, here, instead of having Indians as the helpless villagers, you've got Mexicans, and they're all stereotyped, and it's completely ridiculous. And the casting is very, very odd. I mean, you've got Russians trying to play cowboys, and the main villain, who's supposed to be Mexican, is Eli Wallach, and Eli Wallach is definitely not Mexican. He's Jewish, so he's like a Jewish Mexican. I don't know how that works, but oh, it's just so fun. I don't even care. I don't even care all the mistakes that they make in that respect. It's just so much fun. And I think that anyone who just loves westerns, loves cowboy movies, is just kind of very American movies, you'll really, really like this movie. I've never come across anyone who didn't like it. But as I said before, I know I said that there's a lot of movie stars in it, and it's true. The cast in this is fabulous, even though a lot of them don't really make sense. But Yul Brynner is basically the main cowboy, and he's the most un-John Wayne. It's not even funny because he's completely foreign, but oh, he's just so cool that you just don't even really care. And let's see who else. James Coburn is in it. Freaking Charles Bronson is in it. I love Charles Bronson. Oh, and also I've got two words. Steve McQueen. Be Still My Heart, I love Steve McQueen. I think he's one of the best action movie stars ever. And I know I've said this before, but I love Jeremy Renner a lot, and I think that Jeremy Renner really reminds me of Steve McQueen. He's got this very roguish, mysterious demeanor about him. And in this movie, this is when he wasn't really that big of a star. He has like, I don't know, like not very many lines, very, very few, but he's just got this wonderful presence and he's very captivating on screen. But anyway, yeah, so big movie cast, lots of action, great music, and yeah, it's a great movie to watch like on a summer Sunday afternoon, and which is I plan to be watching it soon, probably this Sunday. So